Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today we're going to do a little tutorial for beginner sewers to make some bunting. It's a great starter activity for your sewing journey because you're working on really small pieces of fabric, and you can do this by using your foot to make sure that you're running evenly along the edge of your fabric. We have different fabrics that come in every year for Christmas, so you'll have to check out what this season's fabric prints are. But I've chosen 4 blue fabrics today that all coordinate to make a set of blue bunting. The fabrics are a polycotton, so they're quite a firm fabric and they're easy to handle and they don't slip or flop around while you're sewing. I'm heading over to the cutting table where I'm going to show you how to make a template and cut out your triangles. If you've cut your triangles with your fabric folded double, just beware if you've got a directional print that you make sure that you match a one with the pattern the right way up. You match it with one that's upside down, and that upside down one can be the one that goes on the back. Going to pin your triangle together. You can put more pins if you need to all the way around. And then you're going to take that 1 centimetre seam allowance all the way around the edge. So you're going to leave the top open. So 1 centimetre to the end, pivot, and 1 centimetre to the other end. And I'll show you how to turn on that corner. I'm going to use my foot to run along the edge of the fabric because I know that the distance between the foot and the edge of the fabric will be 1 centimetre. You can also use a magnet seam gauge. So this has got a magnet on the back, and you can put your magnet gauge to your foot plate and run your fabric along the edge of the seam gauge, whichever you think is best. You want to make sure you're going to get right into the corner. You can measure the point where you get 1 centimetre on both seam lines. You need to pivot your fabric. You stop with the needle down, lift up the foot, turn your work, and then start the other way. You can see I haven't gone far enough there, so I'm going to take 2 more stitches, and 1 maybe. You can tie off your threads, or if you've gone forwards and back at the end, that will secure your stitch line. At the point, you need to clip that off. Because if I try and turn this now, I'll show you, because you might have made some in the past and wondered why it didn't work out so well. All of that seam allowance is trying to bunch up into the bottom of the point, so there's a big wedge of fabric in there. We need to clip that off. So on the end of your piece of sewing, just take off the point, don't clip the stitching, and you can take a little bit of seam allowance off each side as well. So you've taken off some of the seam allowance, so now there's not so much trying to bunch into the point. Turn it the right way. I'm using my seam gauge with the point turner on the end to press that out. If you use scissors or a knitting needle, sometimes run the risk of popping through the end. You get a really neat point, and then press your first flag, and you'll know which is the front and back depending on your print. So this is the Rudolph and Santa sleigh is the right way up, on the other side is upside down. You can cut your fabric so that they're all the right way up depending on it, if you're going to see your bunting from both sides. But to make the best use of the fabric, I'm putting the upside down one on the back and the right one on the front. When you're making something repetitive, like lots of flags, it's a good idea to use a piecework method. So you do lots of the same process at the same time. So here I'm going to match a wrong side with a right side and pin, put them straight onto the pile, so that when I'm working under the machine I can just simply pick it up and sew, pick and sew, pick and sew, and then do all of the clipping and then do all of the ironing. Otherwise you're spending a lot of time getting up and down and swapping processes. So a little bit of piecework makes the job go a lot faster. Another way you can go a little bit faster if you're making long pieces of bunting is to chain sew, which is to sew your triangles under the machine without stopping and starting at the end of each one, and then you just snip them apart at the end. So I'm getting to the end of one and I'm going to get the next one ready. And join it on, and then I'll just snip them all apart at the end. You just need to make sure that you're getting your triangle in the right position when you put it under the machine. The next thing you want to do is be really prepared for when you're under the sewing machine. So if you can organise your flags so that you've got them the right way up when you lift them off the pile and they're ready mixed when you take them off the pile. It's got the foxes the right way, so then when you take them you can just put them straight under the bias binding, which I'm going to show you next. You can make your bunting as long as you like, but 5 flags will make 1 metre because they're 20 centimetres across. If you want to have a little bit of space between them, you'll have to respace and recalculate. But today I'm going to put the flags right next to each other. I've got a 2 metre piece of bias binding. This is a wide one. This is 30mm wide. This is a quilting bias binding. There's different ones on our website, so have a look. And then that way, rather than just sewing them onto a ribbon, we can enclose that raw edge along the top, and your bunting will be reversible because both sides will look good inside the binding. So you've got them all set up in the right order, so as you lift them off the pile, you can sew. If you're completely new to sewing, you might want to pin them on. So you put the edge of your bunting on the centre of the bias binding. You can fold it over and pin, but really you'd get all pins in your fingers and on your lap while you were sewing. It's sort of best if you can to sew as you go. If you just want to help your sewing a bit, you could press down the binding so that it's got the crease in the middle ready. You're going to edge stitch as close as you can to the edge, but make sure that you're going to catch both sides of the binding. I chose 4 different blue fabrics. I had 1/2 metre of each, and I've made 32 flags. So this binding is only 2 meters long, so I might switch to another piece of binding and get myself a 3 meter length. You can start your binding with a loop. Depends how you're going to hang it up. You're going to lose a little bit of your binding then if you're working exactly on a 2 meter or 3 meter length. So you can just make a little loop, which will get you started, or you can just, if you're going to use pins to put it on the wall, or it depends how you're going to attach it at home. And you just keep folding the binding in half. I've pressed it, makes a really good difference. And then you can get your next one ready. If you think you can do that, work that way. If you need to pin, you can pin. If you're teaching a child to do it, then you might want to tack it for them. And keep adding the flags. There we are, that's it all attached on. If you put the corners of the triangles together underneath the binding, you'll get that nice little gap just in between. It's ready to hang. You can also customise your bunting, so you could use felt to put a child's name onto the flag pieces, or you could put a slogan like happy birthday, and those can be hand appliqued on. Of course, you don't have to make a triangle shape. You can make a pennant shape, you can do them with semicircles, or you can do them with rectangles. All the products and fabric designs that I've used are listed below, but don't forget our Christmas fabrics change every year, so you might need to check out some of our other fabrics. We also do calico and canvas fabric, so you'll get a more natural sort of Nordic theme if you want to make Christmas bunting. Thanks very much for watching. See you again soon.